Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Gabfest.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. When's our sound effects coming?
Clayton. Staring at him like, where's our tune? Thank you so much for joining us on the Gabfest today. We are quite a lot today. We are whole entire 5 faces. Cleo and Jess finally get to meet.
Hey. I don't know if we high five, if we elbow, if we fist.
Oh yeah, we can do that.
Do everything. Chicken wing. But Jess is one of our originals. We started the Gabfest with Jess. And then that was when we were stand-in hosts. And then we became the legit thing.
Yeah, now it's like the View vibes. Now it's like amper the real, but the Gab. We there.
And then Cleo jumped in and is our co-host now.
The seat warmer.
Yeah. Jesse is like, thanks for keeping my seat warm. I'm here to take over. But we're so grateful to have both of you in today. If you still don't know, Jess is in every first Friday of the month. She's our first Fridays.
Yes, we kick the month because there's always something varum in the beginning of the month. There's always something. So today is April Fool's Day, so maybe there'll be a joke. We'll find one today. We'll find one.
Yeah, your Jess bombards me every time something happens in the news. It's like tring, 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 tring. And then it's just one person, 18 messages from Jess. All 18 articles. I'm like, I'm not reading all of them.
Articles, analysis, like we there.
This is my thoughts on this article. This is my okay. But thanks, Jess. We appreciate your effort.
Appreciate it.
We need
and
the
then
content.
Madam Furniture over here.
Every week, same time, same place. It's not gonna change.
Anka Hendricks. And then we are so excited to have the beautiful Sadie. Sadie, I can't say your surname. Please
Torquato with a hard R.
Say it again.
Torquato.
Torquato.
Yeah.
I was trying to tell them how you say it. It was like, just give up, read it. This is how you spell it.
It was a whole 10-minute session.
But thank you so much for joining us. Would you like to share a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Sadie Torquato with a hard R. Only got that surname through marriage. I should have kept the English surname. It was very English, very proper. I went from Road to Torquato. Come on.
And people always butchering your surname.
Now every time I do something, if I'm applying for something or signing up for something, I have to spell my surname every single time. I went from Road, nice, clean-cut English, to deep into Brazilian origins, Torquato, so that's why it sounds so hectic. Somebody said I sound like a mob wife, and I think that's kind of cool. So I'm gonna go with that.
It sounds very
We like it. Yeah.
Nice, exotic.
Yeah, and so people always think that I'm from somewhere else, but no. Born and bred South African. I was born in Gabfest. So I'm very proud of my roots, but I'm Torquato now.
Me not even knowing where that is.
It's Port Elizabeth, girl.
Oh yes, you're from. I forgot.
Come on,
From
we have
Port
to say,
Elizabeth.
I'm a binary. You have to say Gabfest though. Like you
Okay.
can't, you know what I mean? Get with the times.
No, I'm in.
But yeah, I'm so excited to be here, guys, because it took me so long to finally get a day off. So I'm really excited to be here. I know Eva from Mrs. South Africa. We were colleagues. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think about 2 years ago. Yeah.
So we've been knowing each other since then. But yeah, I'm social media person, digital marketer by trade, and very, very keen on the setup, girls. It is so legit.
Thank you so much for joining us. So today's topic, guys, was actually inspired by Sadie, and that is why we were supposed to have this topic some time ago, and I'm like, no, we're not doing it without Sadie, because I took it from her socials. So we can't be stealing someone's content, man.
Yeah.
So here we are. And today's topic, we are speaking about, are women meant for support but not to be supported? So if you don't understand the whole idea of it, let's first read it. Sadie, this was Sadie's actual post, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, so I posted this on International Women's Day. I actually really wanted to post my outfits because I've been posting pictures of my outfits at work every day. And I was like, oh, perfect opportunity. And also discourse. So it basically went like this. I was raised in a culture where women were trained to be support structures for men. If you've ever heard a variation of the saying, behind every great man is a great woman, then you were raised in that culture too. It's the reason why no one ever asks men if they can truly have it all. We've been taught to make sure that they do. this International Women's Day, I'd like to encourage everyone to ensure that behind every successful woman is a man, a team, a business, or community. Women can have it all. We just need the support.
Clap. You can actually clap. So, legit, eh?
Pretty much. Pretty much. And I think it makes you, that's why before we went live on air, I was thinking quite deeply about that, because there's so many words just in this statement. Like, for example, the word meant, that goes to purpose. It goes to what is the purpose of a woman? Why is she meant to be here? And for her to achieve whatever she's meant to do or meant to be, who is behind her? Because no person is an island. Even the saying, no man is an island, it should be no person is an island. So it cuts to a lot of things, and I think it's a very rich thing to discuss. But that issue of purpose, what is a woman meant to be here for? What are the roles that she's meant to serve? And is it possible for her to be expected to do all of those things alone? And I think I like this because it raises that thing that, no, we can't expect women to do it on their own, support everybody, but then nobody supports her. It's quite a rich topic to discuss.
I also feel like now, not recently, but in newer times, women are finally taking that for themselves. Because I feel like, or the older generation especially, or older generations, that was just an expectation of women. And I think some people still do have that kind of old school mindset, but women are more stepping out for themselves and telling everyone, like, this is what I'm doing and I'm doing this for me.
For me personally, I think that there's a balance. There's always a balance in life with anything. And yes, I do believe that there's an order, there's a structure. Why was women created in a certain way and why was men created in a certain way? But I think the older generation, what they did is they overdid it. There was an overcompensation, so women were oppressed instead of playing in their roles with certain things being harnessed, as men should play their roles and certain things should also be harnessed. So certain things were just emphasized with men, and that meant that women were the lesser being, which I don't agree with. However, I do believe that there should be a balance where women do understand that they can be empowered, that they can, be achievers, they can be successful, but still have a place in the structure of like what our purpose is and how God created women to be. Women support men, but it should also go vice versa.
Yeah, I like the fact that you brought up the idea of women being oppressed through these types of roles that we have, in heterosexual couplings. I find it so funny when we compare the generations that the labor has always been the same and it continues to be the same. But for some reason, the status has never been given to us. So the labor has been given to us for generations, and it continues through our generation very much today, but the status has never been ours. So when I was pondering the behind every successful man is a strong woman, or how many versions there are of those, you acknowledge that the man is successful and you acknowledge that the woman has done the work. So I want to challenge the idea of a woman's place in relation to her labor. Women are the ones who run the household. We very much control the mood and the culture of the home. I mean, for example, I've told you guys I've married an Angolan man and we live in South Africa. For me, my husband made the ultimate sacrifice by leaving his family behind in Angola and choosing to build this life with me. As my act of love for him, I maintain Angolan culture in our home. It's going to be very easy for my children to assimilate my culture as a colored South African. They've got their colored family here. We're eating our food, we're listening to our music, they're speaking English. They will always know that side of themselves. But I realized very soon in my marriage that there was a very unique duty on my part to speak Portuguese, to cook Angolan food, to listen to Angolan music, to dança kizomba, do all of those things that they do, because the mothers are the custodians of culture in our families. And it's not only in colored people, black people, white people, Indian people. Women are the ones who pass down the stories. Women are the ones who plan the weddings and the events. Women are the ones who cook lunch. Women are the ones, it's literally called a mother tongue. So all of this labor has not afforded us status, and that is an idea that I want to challenge.
I just want to ask, for my friend next to me, I'm asking
behind you.
Yeah. When you say status, explain what do you mean we're not afforded the status?
So it's like I said, when women do the labor, it's not seen as prestigious. It's not seen as
Like,
successful.
wow, you've done that.
You know what I mean? When women can cook, it's seen as something that makes us attractive. It's seen as something that makes us, good nurturers and
And
etc.
cooking is
When men cook, it's like, wow, King,
you can cook.
wow, King, you are so amazing, chef.
Even when they're parenting.
Oh,
I was about to say.
yeah. I'm helping out my wife. No, you're not
You're not helping.
you're not co-parenting. You're not. We are both
You're not
parents.
babysitting.
Men do
Not
not babysit their own children.
Yeah, it is a thing where when we cook, it's but you should cook. Or when we come home,
exactly.
but what did you make to eat? What do you mean? We both worked.
Yeah.
We were both at work today, and why are we just expecting me to cook? Why are we just expecting me to bath the kids? I mean,
Correct.
weren't we out the whole day together? So
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I understand where you're going with that.
Yeah. So was it you that I showed those memes to, not memes, but like it was a old slide. You see, the problem with having my phone over there is that I can't go to my content. But anyway, I saved all these slides and things about that woman versus man thing as a mother specifically.
And I've seen that.
And
that was on Instagram. I
yes,
saw that.
and there was something like where the mother she looks like I'm having a difficult day, but she's walking with her kid in the shopping cart, and it says something like something about, is she only going to cook that because somebody's looking into the thing? And with the dad doing it, then it's like, oh, he's such a present dad.
Yeah.
When the mom picks the kid up from school, there was a saying, and when the dad does it, it was like, oh, he's actually fetching the kids from school, that kind of thing. And I think that's also where it comes into, not only in terms of, I want to speak about the success side as well, because many a times men are so successful if they have someone like, pushing them constantly all the time. But I wanted to ask, do you guys think that women would have been, not would have, there is still very successful women, but the majority of women would be more successful if we had the same kind of support, the way woman is taught to support a man?
Are you speaking specifically about male support, or are you talking about in
specifically
general?
a partner's support? Like the old saying, behind every
okay.
successful man, there is a woman. Why is it that behind every successful woman, I'm talking about proper success, she has to go through divorce? Those kind of
To
terms
find
to
herself.
find herself
Yeah.
to be successful. Because yes, if a man is successful, he is the man of the house, but we taught as women, they wear the pants. So it comes that many times when you find that woman is successful, they either have to go through divorce. We don't know what happens inside the house, but there is women that don't make their man feel less of a man, but they still somewhat go through a divorce because there is no man behind a successful woman.
I'm
Yeah.
going to answer controversially and say women are better off without men. And I don't mean that as, I'm happily married for 7 years this year. We've got beautiful children. My husband is the man of my dreams, and I could not ask for a better situation. But if I remove my emotion and my individual self out of the equation, systemically, yes, women would thrive without men. Single
agree with that.
women are the leaders in the property market. Women who have never been married, women who are divorced, and women have a better social life, better overall well-being, mental health, physical health after divorce, whereas men actually fall into depression and loneliness. These are all researchable facts. You can Google it. So it's
Yeah.
not about me as an individual, and it's no indictment on my husband whatsoever. Like, it's not about me. Statistically, factually, partnered women do not thrive the same way that single women do. And it's just because of how men have been socialized to not take on that role of standing behind your women. And, it's all of those things.
But then what
Yeah.
about if you, I'm going to take a famous person because it's easier to reference. So that's like saying Beyonce's career was better when she wasn't with Jay-Z, when in fact, after they got married, those are the greatest days of her career, actually. Same thing with Barack and Michelle. No one knew who Michelle Obama was when she was on her own. That's not to say, if you read their story, she had so much going for her, but through their union and what they've done together, they've actually elevated their success to a higher level. And the same thing with Beyonce and Jay-Z. I could bring up a number of examples. So I have to disagree there, because I think if you're gonna do that whole thing of women are better without men, I think that there's something that women bring out of men and men bring out of women. Did I do that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. So there are qualities that we bring out of each other, and I think, yes, there are many situations where women have had to, I guess, sacrifice certain things, but at the same time, there's a dynamic there in a healthy relationship where both of them can thrive and can do everything that they want to do and can support each other. With I'm going to come back to this again, with Barack and Michelle, they negotiated with each other, much like you and your husband did. She said, look, if you want to be president, that's fine, but when your term is over, there are things I want to do. She's currently doing them. Barack was even on tour with her for her book. They did the whole tour together. But can I jump in there?
Can I say, do you think because he created this celebrity already, because you're using celebrities as examples, you're not using normal people. So when it comes to celebrities, as a woman, you already have a name for yourself if the woman is a celebrity. I'm not saying disputing anything you're saying. I'm just saying if we bring it back to normal everyday people and not people that is already successful, because I'm sure if I am successful, I'm single until I'm 35 and I've built this whole mansion behind me and then meet someone. It's not my husband who gave me that success. So same with Jay-Z and Beyonce. Jay-Z didn't give her success beforehand. No. She created that with the help of her parents, that mommying her and things like that. So yes, it elevated her another level because of the level who Jay-Z also is. But if you look at it even with Barack, and she did her thing after he became president. He already made her name famous. She already became a celebrity. She's first lady. I want us to think, okay, we hear the example, bringing back to normal everyday people you've met.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the dynamic of your relationship.
It
like
does.
As much as Jess is using,
but that's why I use the example majority. From your examples, maybe 10% would be. So I just want us, before we get into those other kind of things, just first let me know, do you think it does play a role if the woman's success, the first question I asked.
So what you're asking is, if the woman was successful before she met her partner, and then now when the partner is, what are you asking?
My first point was, the way a man, behind every successful man, there is a woman. Which many a times we always say, she stuck it through. I'm not even speaking about the man where the woman sticks through, and then the minute he's successful, he finds another woman. I don't mean like that, because that's a whole nother story. But in terms of a woman who stands behind a man and he becomes successful. With her. I'm not meeting you successful. So that support, we are here. So, okay, I wanted to also let's throw this in. From a Christian perspective, it's because it's majority people that is brought up in a Christian household that has that whole Sadie's idea of a woman supports, like you say, submissive to a man. Because scripture tells us you marry a man for him to lead, basically. And what happens is, we were also saying in the beginning, we overdo it and you lose yourself as a person. So when you get married, you get 19, no matter your age, if you are not at the point of your success, this is success now, you're able to push a man because we are taught. As a woman, you support your man no matter what he does in marriage or whether you live together. Then there is the aspect of, as a woman, when we get married, I have to mold my dreams to fit my husband's dreams, and my dream becomes a side hustle. Those kind of terms.
For me, it was different. When I came, yes, I was raised. You need to be, you need to submit to your husband, and I was raised in that way. And then I also believe that the man gave gives the lead and all of that, right? And when I got here, I didn't have a job or anything. And Xavier would be so frustrated. He said, "Is this what your purpose in life is to just be a housewife? Tell me so I can make peace with it." You know, like he was like, find vision, find something for yourself to do so that you can do that. When we got cars and all of that, he's like, "No, that's your car. We use it, but it's your car." And my mother struggled with this. She's like, "No, but it's, you guys are together, and he's the head of the house." And he's like, "No, but there's ownership in my marriage. As much as it's ours, this is mine. This is what I call mine. It's my baby." So for me, I didn't understand that. But going back to what we were speaking just now is that having counseled many couples, yes, I've got a Christian background, and yes, my mind, my moral system, or not moral system, but my thought patterns are structured by what we are taught from the Bible, right? But having counseled people and understanding the dynamics that when you have a strong female, and there's nothing wrong with being a strong female, there's nothing wrong with being an achiever or being successful. There's absolutely nothing wrong. I'm not trying to talk down on anyone in that level. I'm just trying to bring a point home in terms of the amount of couples that we've counseled, that we've seen that when these women reach success and their husbands are extremely supportive, like overly supportive, or just supportive, they then go off on a different tangent and they go through the divorce because either the man is too weak or the man is just not strong enough or something. So they lose sight of revering their husband still, which is why I come back to my initial point where I said that we should understand why we were created in a certain way and still have balance. So you can be successful, but still strike the balance.
So I like the fact that you brought in the Christian aspect of it. My faith is a very big part of who I am. My brother was actually ordained a minister over the weekend. I'm so proud
Congratulations.
of him. Yeah. So that means that I'm a pastor's kid, a pastor's sister, and a pastor's sister-in-law. They just full up in my family. So it's a big deal for us. And my parents actually head up a marriage ministry in the church. And I've watched them grow as people through their ministry. And I want to talk about the Obamas because I think that we can talk about successful, famous people till we're blue in the faces. But we need to remember that they weren't always successful and famous, right? Mm-hmm. If you go back to their story before they were famous, when they were a bit more relatable to us, more relatable. You know what I mean? Like, there was a part in Michelle's book that really stuck with me when Obama decided that he's going to chase this ambition of, like, I don't remember if it was before becoming president or the step before the presidency thing.
Senator.
That one. But they just, but it took a tremendous toll on her because she had just reached this really amazing place in her career. She was the director of a hospital, and that was like a huge deal. I mean, wow, right? And she eventually drew a line in the sand where she would not give Barack this type of honor for honor's sake. And I think that's the point that I'm trying to allude to when I say that women are better off than men. As a Christian, marriage is a very important part of our community. Family building is a very important part of our community. But I am vehemently against family building for the sake of family building, coupling for the sake of coupling, and submitting for the sake of submitting. You get where I'm going with this. And she drew a line in the sand and she said she absolutely refuses to do this. She's not going to have a whole life revolve around him and his success. He needs to join the party and live on her terms as well. And one of the lines that she drew is that she would have dinner at a certain time and put the girls in bed at a certain time. And he would have to make sure that he schedules his life in such a way that he's able to have dinner with his family and put his daughters to bed. And he would have to adjust his life for his family and make his success work so that he can meet his family goals. And that's what women have to do all the time. So I love that she flipped that on him because we have to do it all the time, right? Yes. We have to make sure that we pack the lunches the night before. Yeah. We have to make sure that we gym at early hours in the morning so that we can do homework in the evening after work. We do that all the time. And of course men do. I mean, they are good men. Yeah. But I'm not going to do it for the sake of just being, I'm not doing it just because you're a man. Yeah. I'm not going to treat you a certain way just because you're a man. You have to earn it. Yeah. And oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
Go for it. You know what? I think maybe what might be, because I'm a solution-orientated person, I think it's important then, maybe I'll say this and people can come for me, but maybe there are women who feel like I can't negotiate these things with my partner. I can't negotiate the family terms. I can't negotiate these things. And the reason why I brought up those two is because I feel like I just used those references of celeb because it's easy for everyone to relate to.
Yeah, it's well known.
I think you touch on something very important, which is that negotiating factor. There's this element of women always feel this thing that I must have permission. Not all, but there are women who always feel like someone needs to give me the permission to go after everything I want and to negotiate those terms. And some don't and then get lost. And it's highly important, I feel, not to get lost, because I'm very against living a life of resentment where your husband is on stage getting an award for something that you supported him through, but you haven't. If you identify that he's expecting something from you that isn't vice versa, that you didn't have, I guess, that man, where's my English today? You didn't have that thing, man, to come back and say, yes, I see what you want, but this is what it's going to take for me to do what I want.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe then this conversation, the solution that should come out of this conversation is to say any woman who feels like she's not supported in her marriage should feel that thing that, girl, negotiate that thing, because your kids are going to grow up. They're going to do everything they want to do. Your husband's going to get everything that he wants. But then what about you? You know, so
But then does this come
on,
up with the whole, I know you want to speak about this next week, but just to bring it in a bit, does this come up with how we are raised in general?
That's where I wanted to jump in earlier
Yeah.
also, because so like you guys were saying that you were brought up in a Christian home and taught to submit. My family, on the other hand, we're Christian, but we're not very much into faith. So the way I was raised by my mom was to be very independent and don't let a man turn around and say, you wouldn't have that if it wasn't for me. Which, in hindsight, I think, as I grew older, was a little bit unhealthy because it caused me to be unable to ask for help and accept help. But I think also when you get to that stage where you find your partner, it's more about becoming self-aware and having that relationship with yourself where you can say, like, this is what I need to do for me, no matter how I was raised or what I was taught. This is how my household is going to be run. And this is what I need to do for me as a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, going back to couples, how you were raised, remember that when a woman comes into a marriage or into a relationship, you guys weren't raised in the same home. And a lot of men are raised, you're the king of the house, you sit there and, you know, and a lot of women were raised, you must be in the kitchen, right? And it's so important for each one to come together and say, look, we need to create our own culture because we come from different
Yeah.
cultures here. Yeah. I mean, I don't remember where we were. We were at some event and the people were dishing up and they gave me the plate to dish for Xavier and I was like, he's a grown
I'm not doing
man.
that.
Oh my gosh, the
He's a-
plate thing, right?
Like he's a grown man. Like, I don't understand.
Dish
I
for
mean,
your husband.
He dishes for himself at home. Till this day, I don't know how much food he eats. Why? Because he dishes for himself. When we're all together as a family, and Mark cooks and everything, Dad gets up and he dishes for himself. And sometimes he cooks. You know, it's like, so I'm like, I don't understand this concept. And it's seen like, oh, you're not a good wife. And when I say I don't cook on Sundays, it's like, really, what kind of culture is that? I'm like, my husband's easy, he eats sandwiches, and sometimes he'll get up and make it himself. Why? Because there's so much dynamics. I work too, he works. We both have to try and get the kids going. I get upset if I have to drive the kids alone to school. We go together. I wasn't alone when these kids were
You never made those
You will
kids.
make time.
Yeah.
We'll make time and we'll go together. If we go to an event, I don't drive alone with my kids. Why? I wasn't alone when these kids were created. You'll come along.
So on my side,
am
it's a
needy
bit different. I'm going to say I obviously also grew up in a very Christian house. My parents, mother and father, pastors, every single uncle, pastor, every single auntie. Pastor.
Okay, you win.
I think we've got 3 pastors'
pastor.
kids here by birth. There's 3 of them here.
Jess's dad is also a pastor of a church.
love it
So what? We didn't get the memo.
I'm at the black sheep, yeah.
So she's married in.
I'm married. Oh, so that gives me a sort of ticket.
No,
Sorry.
not just me, she feels a bit. But anyway, where I was going to with that was, for me, yes, my parents, like she said, my and dad cooks, gets up and cooks for himself, but it didn't happen all the time. It's new.
Yeah.
So by the time Anka came in, it was new, it was there. But my whole other 30 years being there, it wasn't. Ma cooked. Ma did this. Ma fetched us from school. Ma
cooks
this. Ma
Boston
did
barbecue.
that. Ma was ma. And those kind of things. So I also know a few dreams of my mother that she put aside for my dad to be successful and where it is now. It took her to turn 50 and then start working on certain things that she did. She always wanted to do coaching. She always wanted to do certain things. But she was like already 55 when, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm saying from a Christian perspective, happy for you guys if you guys married with, in terms of I say this and that and that. But for me, it was different. And I've met many other women that feel the same like me. With me, my husband doesn't make me feel in anything. He'll say, how much is it? Yeah, go start. What do you need? But his personality is also learned through it. I always laugh with Clayton and I say, I made some business thing and he sent me videos on how to make my website, where he makes websites for a living, those kind of things. But he wants me to learn. But where I'm going with this is
That's
that...
nice because it's like he's empowering you.
Yeah. So he'll ask me, where do you need help? But did you watch the video? Because that's in the video.
Yeah.
It tells me you didn't watch the video, kind of a thing. But where I'm going with it is that I'm in my 7th year of marriage, right? But it took me 6 years to be somebody that can say, babe, you can't leave now because I've been at home with the kids the whole day. Even though he wasn't stepping on my toes for my success, he never ever said, you can't do this, you can't do that. But because I automatically as a woman
It's like embedded in you.
assume
Yeah.
that as long as the husband is happy, I'm happy, kids are happy, money is coming in, we always have food on the table, those kind of things. It took me really, really long to realize that I do have a say. I can have a dream alongside his dream and not give up everything that I've done. So yes, there is women that they have this is the terms and conditions. But I know a lot of women like me as well that has been sitting in a marriage for how long and struggle to say it. And because you've made your husband used to we going along with the flow, it's much more difficult to be yourself because he's now not used to you saying, but I thought we're doing this. I wanted us to do this. And then for him, that's also a culture shock. But it's not his fault. I made him used to the idea for 6 years. And then all of a sudden in our 7th year, I want to tell him,
Wake up.
you
And
know.
I think we have to take accountability as women for that. I mean, I'm also celebrating 7 years and I'm very much in my Michelle Obama era, okay? We're doing it, okay? I'm a corporate bunny. But it took me about the same amount of time, probably even more, to get to that negotiating. I love that you use that word because we don't think, they dupe us into thinking that happy husband, happy life. You know what I mean? They dupe us. And then you realize that they've been giving you all this emotional fodder to play with, but you actually have very practical needs. You actually have very practical and sound needs. You will discover very quickly into marriage that the logical sex and the emotional sex is the other way around. We have very, very practical needs. Our needs are not emotional. So a lot of us are unsatisfied because we're not actually getting the needs that we want. They're placating us with the words and the feelings and, you know, the affirmations. But our needs are practical. I need to watch the bloody children. I need to get my nails done. You know what I mean?
And don't make me feel like getting my nails done is a luxury.
Period, because it's a need. And we have to be accountable for the ways that we do these things. When Jolson and I got married, I was still finishing up my studies, and I
always read it as Gilson. Sorry now.
So when we got married, I was still finishing up my studies, and he was working himself to the absolute bone. I mean, as a foreign national, job prospects are very different for him. So he was really working he would be home before, he'd be home when the sun is already down at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and he'll leave at dawn. Like, it's been crazy. And so I wanted to overcompensate and be this model wife. Yo, you guys should have seen the sandwiches I was packing. Okay, he was living good. And then a year later, I got my job after graduating, and I still wanted to be that wife. And he got into a better working position as well, so it wasn't that ridiculous 6 to 6 stuff that he was doing. But I was still in that mode. And eventually, in about the 3rd or 4th year, I completely burnt out, and I took it all out at him. And he was completely shocked because I was carrying this load and I was doing it with a smile. Why? Because of that emotional fodder. Oh, I'm a great wife. I'm a great wife. I'm a great wife. I'm a great wife. You know what I mean?
Motivational speech, everybody. I'm a great wife.
You know what I mean? Our needs are very practical. It's so easy to balance and negotiate the best possible marriage when you actually speak to what your needs really are.
But that's also why do you want to read the comment?
Yeah, can I just jump in there, then I'll give you a chance. Okay, so we've got Liam Abramsa that says, hi Vange. Odessa Jansen that says, interesting topic. Liam, yes. Liam, I believe you. Then we got Michaela Andrews that says, it's really important for people to understand that a marriage is a partnership, and in partnerships we negotiate and we don't dictate. As well, even the patriarchal system shouldn't dictate how households are run. It's difficult, but there's a lot of unlearning we as women need to do. And we've got a host of Liam messages here. Yes, women are very strong and powerful, the way women are powerful. And yes, powerful word are so beautiful.
More power to him.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is, I understood when Sadie said that she has the controversial opinion that women would be
yeah, you
better
were saying
off
I
without
agree,
men.
I agree.
I get that, because as women, as much as we can have practical needs, we are emotional creatures and we want to nurture. So a lot of the times we jump at it without even being asked to do it. We just, sometimes we get into a space where we're even self-sacrificing because we want to make sure that the next person, whether it be a friend or a partner, well, in this instance, a partner, is seen to and happy, and that they building their own dream. I think it's just we need to also be a bit more flexible in our relationships and marriages, because we grow as people all the time. As we get older, our needs change. Everything around us changes. And like you were saying, your husbands will go into this culture shock because now all of a sudden you're putting your foot down and saying, actually, this is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
So I think if we are a bit more flexible, then it'll maybe be a bit easier.
Also, if we're a bit more vocal, and when I say more vocal, I say what you feel and don't hint what you feel. So we
Yes.
as women, we'll go on, we'll make
But
the
also how you
sandwiches.
say it.
Yeah, so I was getting there. So we as women, we go on, you make the sandwiches and you go to work and you put the kids, and you're doing it with a smile because you're the strong woman. And inside you're just upset. Is this man really sitting with his feet up? Is he really watching TV? Is he really? And all
You're
these little
huffing and
things.
puffing there.
All these little things start irritating you, and then you just explode. Instead of saying, baby, I'm busy now, and this is really what I want for my life, and I understand you've got A, B, C, D on your plate. I've got EDF on my plate. So how are we going to compensate each other? I'd really love you to give the kids a bath while I cook, or the other way around. We have to actually vocalize, but nicely. I know we have a way of saying things,
But that doesn't always work.
Yeah.
well, it doesn't always work, which is why it's important to find in a partnership. It's very important to find a language that works for both of you two, because men read respect, women read love. But I too read respect. So if you're going to be disrespectful, we're going to get in the ring now.
I always fight for that. I always say, men always say, we are driven by respect. We are driven by respect.
Women
As
want it
if
too.
women don't want respect. And that's a big thing. If you can't, you can't. But if a woman can't, it's a problem.
So I have a sound bite. You guys are going to want this. This you're going to put on Instagram after. The best... Hold on. You're going to edit
Eye
this
contact
after.
with the camera.
This is my camera. Okay. The worst marriage in the world is two masters in love. The best marriage in the world is two servants in love. There is no love where grace and truth does not coexist. There is no truth without grace, and no grace without truth.
Amen.
Hello. And I think that basically just covers everything that we were saying. How we communicate each other, truth, love, grace. Those things have to go together.
Yeah.
And being two masters in love is the worst possible marriage. Being two servants in love being the best possible marriage. The in-between is one being a master and one being a servant. And we always tell ourselves our automatic place is that servant.
Yeah.
If we can get the men into the servant mentality as well, oh, babes, then we'll both be winning.
Yeah.
And I fully agree with you. And it reminds me of something that a friend of mine had said to me. I haven't been married as long as 1, 2, 3.
No,
No,
I'm
okay.
with you. Yeah.
I haven't been. So it's actually cool that we're on this side and then the OGs of marriage are sitting there. But I haven't been married that long, but we're actually celebrating our 1 year now in May. So I'll never forget what my friend said to me. She said, if you, in the early stages of your marriage, create a standard that you can't keep up with, be careful. She was talking to me about the situation with anybody's in-laws. She was like, if you give your in-laws a side of yourself that's so perfect, where eventually in your marriage you're going to start to slip and people are going to be like, where's that lady that was making this and doing this? And where's that person? So she was saying to me, be careful of the precedent that you set. Be yourself and slowly get into the role that you're playing as a wife. And in the beginning, I didn't get it, but now I get it. Like if I say to my husband, silly example, look, I'm going to cook 4 times during the week, maybe 3, that's like...
Maybe 1.
maybe 1.
You maybe just please.
I want to be, and this is another topic for another day, but this perfection complex that women have of this thing of until you're breaking like you did it so well.
Very dramatic. Very dramatic.
I think where I'm at in my life is getting to a stage where I do things slowly. I adapt slowly, but I can't give perfect to everything and everyone. If I give you the best that I could do in this week, I've given the best that I could here, so I could give the best of myself at work, but not best as in I'm breaking myself to get every area of my life right. For me, I think this is something as women we might need to learn, is that, this it can break a person literally, I feel, and giving just the basis of yourself that, okay, I'm going to be able to do this. Can you please help me here? Just and respectfully so. Maybe then we'll get to a point where we feel that we're both loved and we're both supported and serving each other, like you mentioned.
I just want to add for my friend over here that there's also that fine balance that as much as we shouldn't put too much pressure, but at least make the effort. And I use myself as an example. So in the beginning, when me and Xavier were married, I couldn't cook at all. Oh, Lord Jesus, I burnt the water on the stove. And
when you just...
You know,
you just got married. But it was a lack of time. Look, Jesse's agreeing with me.
it's like, so
It was
I
a lack of time because we had snack which was acar and cheese and bologna every single day.
He's alive. It was a lack of time. But here's the thing. No, guys, I cooked on a Sunday because I think that it was his way of encouraging me, like, bring your pots. I left with my whole pot. I don't blame anyone because I wouldn't even eat it. It was that bad, right? And I hate being in the kitchen. I absolutely hate
Me too.
I loathe being in the kitchen. And it was a matter of later on, like, people, shame, they just accepted. They were eating my acha sandwiches. They just accepted.
Listen, it sounds bomb though. Like,
it's still a good go to. But what I'm trying to say is that then later on, I was just like, okay, you know what? It's fine. We'll just do make-believe curry mince and rice and we'll be okay. And to the point...
that lasted for 2 years.
It could have lasted even more. But anyway,
Calling you out, yeah.
Shame, the journey was tough. We really made it. And then how many years down the line, lockdown hits, right? So we've been living this life and then lockdown hit. Now I'm forced to. So what I'm trying to say is that don't take the easy way out and just be okay with it. At least take some of it to actually learn.
Yeah.
So cook a little bit, find a few easy recipes. Now I shame the guy eats burgers now and then. But he's all right. It's not curries and biryanis. It's a bit of a gourmet burger now. So take some time to learn, but then create that new culture that finds a balance. Don't put too much pressure, but put enough that allows you to grow.
Yeah.
Jessie says Anka made a good apple salad.
Heerlikheid. Nog hulle apple salad. Potato, my G. Potato.
if your potatoes are tasting like apples, I don't know what to tell you.
it was. Didn't you put apple in the potato
No, I didn't.
salad?
That's Ma.
Oh.
But it's okay. At least if you put me right up there with the G's, then I'm fine. I'm fine.
You're fine. I wanted to also mention, based on Michaela's post, saying that I also wanted to, what encouragement only, because remember, it's new. It's very, very new that women are woke.
Yeah.
Sorry to use the term woke,
Yeah.
but it's new that we woke. It wasn't always a thing about stand up for yourself. If you believe this, so it's easier for people who just got married to say certain things, put boundaries when you just get married, do this when you just get married, this, that. For our viewers, that is not just married and has been in this situation of, I feel like there's no support. I have tried to say something before, I have made effort of doing something, but I got married in the time where you just sit and be pretty at home, make sure the floor is clean, make sure there's food on the table, kids dressed, all those kind of things. Because there is still so much of majority of women, my English is going through the duck. Always say through the duck. Sorry. Funny story through the duck now. We were in like a community area. And there were these huge things just standing in the middle of nowhere. And my husband asks this little girl, what is all these things? She's like, no, they're building something for the ducks. And they're making a pond at the flats. She's like, yeah, they're going to put new ducks. Anyway, the mother came and said they're replacing the roof tiles. So now whenever my English goes through the duck, that's where that comes in. Anyway. So my English is through the duck. Anyway, for those women who have been married for long, and maybe there is woke woman, but they got married to a man that grew up in a household where as a woman you have to do all these things. Remember, you don't know this when you're dating. When you're dating, it's love, it's your normal relationship things, but it's not who's in charge of what.
I
You
have to
only
disagree
find-
with that. But only because...
But you live together.
Yeah, I was going to say, just
So-
because we have our household and it's a long-term thing.
Yeah.
And I often ask women that have been in a long-term relationship and they get married, because I do bridal makeup, so I get to see them on their wedding day,
Yeah.
before they're married, after they're married sometimes. And a lot of women say that not much changes, but obviously there are others that say there was certain things that
Yeah.
changed. But with everyone here being married, how much actually changes from
Dating.
dating to
to-
being married?
So we were only dating for 5 months. So everything changed.
What? That is
Every
so
single
romantic
thing
and a bit
changed.
extreme, but I love it for you.
So we were dating for 5 months and then I got engaged, but then we were engaged for a year. But still, I grew, like I say, the way I grew up, I always knew I want to be a virgin when I get married. And I stuck to that. Even though my previous relationship was 7 years, it's two totally different things. Because there's certain things I kept myself back with, because I knew I want to be like my mother.
Okay.
My mother married her first boyfriend. I always thought, okay, I'm marrying my first boyfriend and everything, and that's why
I
you
love
stick
that.
in this relationship, but it wasn't a good thing. But what I'm trying to get at is, with things changing, there is women out there that their husbands are husbands that don't understand the new wokeness of women.
Yeah.
And then there is husbands that might understand, but the woman was brought up in a way that you do submit in everything.
Yeah.
Home. And now that you try to say your say, it's not working. What forms of encouragement, forms of advice do you have for a woman to, because we were speaking before the show saying, when you get married and you do submit to an extent of you're taking it overboard, you start losing yourself. And we find that lots of women that over-submit, they start losing their dreams, they don't dress the same anymore, all these things just start fading away. If there's a woman out there that wants to get back to that.
I think you're really bringing up something so important. I'm the black sheep of my family. I'm an absolutely psychotic middle child. I fight everything. I fight everyone and everything. I'm just that disruptive person. So naturally, I was the first person to bring in some kind of feminist, critical thinking into the way our families run. I have 3 brothers, and oh my gosh, the torture was just endless, like, especially because we were all teenagers at the same time. We're a blended family. So I experienced a lot of teenage angst, and I still, when I see them, I'm like, oh, still feel it sometimes. But what happened was I would become so radical that I would become disdainful for women who prefer that traditional kind of way of doing things. And now as I get older, it was my birthday yesterday. Yay!
Happy
birthday!
I can't believe we didn't start the show with that. So I should have started with that. So as I get older, at the ripe age of 30, I do feel myself having more grace for different types of women. I still maintain that I love bad women the most. I love pariahs. I love the women who just disrupt and go against everything that people believe in. Those are my favorite types of women. But I have grace for so many other type of women. The only apprehension I have is that I want those women to be safe, and most of the time I don't believe that they are, and I think that this is more a message on towards men than to them. If you want women to be that way with you, you have to keep them safe.
Create
And
that
I
environment
don't
for them.
believe, especially South African men, I don't believe that they've gotten to the point where they prioritize making their wives feel safe. You know what I mean? The most empowered a woman can be is safe. Whether you are a CEO mogul like I'm going to be, or whether you are, a cottage core, hardcore, I plant my own carrots and I harvest my own eggs type of Betty Crocker lady, perfect, wonderful. Those women are equally as powerful as they are equally safe. And we have not made those women safe yet. Those women, we have to look out for them, because I don't believe that they're safe yet. And if more men want women to be that way, it's incumbent on them, because there's only so much a nasty woman can do. The good men, or men in general, need to be good men to make those women safe, and then I will be completely at ease with that.
For me personally, I'd say that if you don't have a healthy way of communicating with your partner, a healthy way of showing, or letting him know what you're feeling or what you're thinking, go to counseling, find a good mediator. And I mean, don't go to the toxic best friend or someone who's going to give you crappy advice. Go to someone you really trust but knows will give you sound advice and would mediate your feelings and your thoughts to the other person, because the reality of the matter is men don't think like women and women don't think like men, and sometimes we don't know how to communicate because they read it differently. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with going to a counselor or a third party. So that's my advice.
Me laughing at the fact that they don't get it. You can be like, what's wrong? Nothing. Why? What's wrong? Nothing. My face looks like
Literally, when something is wrong, my husband can't pick it up. But when I'm just minding my business, babe, are you okay? Like, dude, where was this energy yesterday? Like,
I love that you brought up the counseling, because I feel like therapy in general is still a little bit frowned upon, and
Definitely.
especially couples therapy. And my belief is that nothing needs to be wrong for you to get there.
oh, agreed.
Starting
Yes,
there
yes.
is
Very
a
true.
good, like building a good foundation to a healthy relationship. It's
Premarital counseling, right?
and-
Premarital counseling is literally everything.
That and also check up on your marriage. So even if you guys are okay or you seemingly okay, remember there's 2 entities in your marriage and you don't always know what they're thinking or feeling. It's okay to go for a 6-month checkup like you would go to the doctor for your teeth or something. It's okay. And guys, please, this is so strongly on my heart. Please avoid the ones that say you must take a 3-month break from your partner. You get married because you want to be together. So that is toxic advice.
I've never heard of such behavior.
That's the new therapy. The new therapy advice they give you. Take a 3-month break so you can both see if this is still what you want. It's utter nonsense. So please, guys, like I said, a healthy therapist, a healthy counselor.
I'm not even going to say anything. I'm with Anka. Everything Anka said, everything Sadie said, everything
Cleo.
I always say Chloe, and they're like, no, Cleo.
Yes, please.
Oh, that happened last week.
That was Vange the whole of last week.
So I think those are really good thoughts, I think, for this conversation, because like you're mentioning, Vange, it is important. Like, we don't know if there's a woman who's scared to speak because she's afraid of messing up the mood in the marriage or making it seem like she's, so I totally understand. And I think everything that the ladies have said now, I think wraps it up nicely. So I don't want to get other thoughts. I think those thoughts
Just put
are
a full
enough.
stop, yeah.
They are enough.
Full stop. But yeah, I would also say that it is difficult to get out of it if it's a norm already. But like you said, with counseling, it helps. We've been married, like I said, 7 years, but we've done counseling like 4 times already. We did premarital counseling. Then when we were like, okay, this thing has actually, it's not as easy as it is. When Scarlett lost the hearing, personalities went through the roof. We went counseling for that. Every time there's a bump in our road,
Like a big change, yeah.
we try our best. Do you want to work this out? Let's go see somebody. Because at the end of the day, you married this person because there was a reason for that marriage. And don't let side track things happen. But if you know from the word go, you got married and this was from day one, like, what the hell am I doing here?
Jolton
not
and I
gonna
once
save
had
you.
counseling because I kept leaving towels on the bed. We went to counseling because of the towels.
You see, something as
It
simple
was socks.
as
What
Really?
happened in your
So you were leaving
childhood that
socks?
made you leave those towels there?
It was the socks for me. Xavier kept on leaving socks and shoes.
And we went to counseling, legit. We were sitting there. It was through church counseling, and we're there like, and these towels. And it was a pastoral couple counseling us, and they just sort of looked at each other. But you guys, it's towels. It's the funniest.
no problem is too small in marriage.
Correct.
I mean,
I don't like the way you're looking at me.
I always say that marriage is difficult. It is a difficult process. Don't fool yourself to think that you're doing something necessarily wrong or anything. It's difficult.
It is difficult.
You know what I always say? It's not a hard marriage. It's a hard life. Life is full of seasons, and the first thing we do is we look into our home. Oh my days, this man is doing this to me. No, life is full of seasons. Life is hard. You think you lost your job and it's so stressful because you have a husband. No, you lost your job and it's so stressful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just added on to that. But like I'm just saying, it's just on to marriage. It really is.
Let's just say it's added on. Okay.
It's added on to that. But what I'm trying to say is that, go for counseling. Like you're saying, it's really frowned upon. People think that I'm doing something wrong and my marriage and didn't make the right decision because now I need to go for counseling. It's not. It's absolute taboo that counseling is frowned upon. Go.
It's also very expensive.
But
It
no,
is.
it's
But
free.
churches-
Churches have it for
church
free.
it's free.
I mean, in our first year,
And it's based on proper principles.
Yeah.
in our first year of marriage, we went back every other week. But guys, we're strong. It's been 8
It's all
years.
that matters.
But now that's how you can give advice to the next. Anywho, so end the topic off. Because now we actually really did sidetrack into a whole nothing to do with support. Actually, that's lies because we were speaking the support from your partner kind of deal. But do you think, to add off the thing, are women meant for support but not to be supported? Your last 10 cents, Sadie, on the whole support structure.
My last 10 cents on the whole. Oh, why'd you have to start with me?
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I believe that women have a divine purpose in the home and in society. We are the ones that keep culture alive. We're the ones that create families. And we have an enormous responsibility. With that responsibility should be afforded the same respect, the same honor, the same status, the same reverence that we've given all the successful men that we've stood behind for all of these years.
Thanks.
Oh, am I next? Okay. I'd say that there's always balance. Keep your balance as much in any way, any spectrum, side of the spectrum. If you do something too much, you get a negative result. So just as much as men is supported, women should be supported, but also in the scope of their purpose. Doesn't mean that they're not going to be successful. Doesn't mean that they won't be the CEO of some company. I'm just saying, keep the balance, but acknowledge each other unselfishly, selflessly.
I agree with that. And also, sometimes to find a balance, you need to go from one extreme to the other. So it's going to be challenging, but just stick it out. Don't run away.
Yep.
And
Yeah, that's nice.
get professional help if you
it's
need
to
it.
this-
And there's nothing wrong with getting professional help.
I like that with some people,
Yeah.
it will be an extreme change to get the balance.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you think it's just small changes, small changes, small changes. But with some relationships, it could be like an extreme
And you need that
battlefield.
consistency on
Yeah.
that journey.
Jace?
Hi. Women are people. People are to be supported. Period. Finished.
Yeah.
Support each other. Amen.
I mean,
And I also just want to close off with a man's perspective. My husband and I talk about this stuff all the time. And the conversation always ends with him saying the exact same thing. And he says to me, Sadie, this is men's work. This is not women's work. The issues that we are talking about, very much like what we've spoken about today, it's men's work. They have to also, come to the party. You know what I mean? As much as women, like, even just having these conversations, this is a platform where a lot of women are going to participate in, and we're going to speak to each other, hold each other accountable, hold space for each other, speak about difficult truths. We do that all the time anyway, because that's just what we do. It's time men join the party as well.
yeah.
And not just like men were boys. So I think it goes well with like, how are we raising this generation of boys so that when they get married one day, or when they are with a woman in whatever way that they're going to do it, that we create that world that we're talking about now. And I think moms of boys have a tremendous job as to how they raise their boys. I used to get irritated as a kid when I would see, like, for example, if in another family, like maybe the boys are privileged enough to walk away when the whole family ate, and just dishes for me are a great starting point to teach boys that, but wait, there are certain things that are not for women only. We are all people.
Yeah.
We all just ate. We all have some form of responsibility here. So that's a small example, but I just feel like, men have got a lot of work to do. There was so much work to do to remove themselves from the toxic aspects of masculinity. But the way that women and men raise boys now, this is going to determine who our girls one day are going to date and who they're going to marry, and the kind of marriages that they're going to have.
Raise your sons so they don't stress our daughters out one day.
Yes, girl.
But yeah, I
Yes.
was actually thinking the same lines that you were going on now with the
Yes.
the raising, and then Sadie also brought it up with the raising of boys, because I feel like when a man is in a relationship where he is like that, it's mostly because mom or gran or aunt, or no matter who you were raised with, allows you to get up and go on with your day. And when you come back, it's you
done.
time, it's done. And like you say, there is responsibilities as a woman. If both partners do go to work, what makes your work so much more hard-working for me to be the one standing behind the pots, washing the kids, and then the excuse is, I was at work, those kind of things. So that's where I was going to go, because with family functions, it's amazing how men are allowed to sit outside and chill the whole entire family function. And women don't necessarily like the family function because they standing behind the pots, they cooking and
Peeling
cleaning
potatoes,
afterwards, peeling
chopping
potatoes.
onions.
And you know what was so funny? Was it Xavier that said that? The other day we were complaining about it, myself and Anka, and we were saying, but actually we're always in the kitchen at family functions. You're always this, you're always that. And then Xavier jumps up and says, I thought you like it. You are going
Yes,
to the
he
kitchen
said
to
that.
chill. And now we're
I
like,
was
do you
shook.
honestly think we're going to the kitchen to chill, and let's chill by washing dishes? That's also a mindset that men actually think we want to gab in
Over
the
washing
kitchen
dishes.
over washing dishes. No, we would also like to have a glass of something and
Just sit.
just sit and eat nibbles and samosas
And
the
have a
whole
conversation.
afternoon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, I would also say, let's, with our newer generation, we're trying to teach the older gen, but with the new ones, let's bring them up in a way where they understand priority versus responsibility, those kind of things. Because many a times it's a woman's responsibility to do home and family, and a man's to put food on the table. And that's where I find most of our support issues come in. I support you as a woman, but not as a breadwinner, those kind of things. So yes, thank you so much for your 10 senses, 100 rands, 30 rands.
Inflation, it's 10 rand now.
Come on, yes, girl.
Thank you so much, Sadie, for joining us today. We have been waiting since last year and it has finally happened. We thank you to this new job.
Yes. I start Monday. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so, and happy, I'm not going to say belated because it was just yesterday.
It's 3 days. Your birthday is always 3 days.
There we go.
Yes, happy 30th. Welcome
Thank
to
you.
the 30s.
Ooh,
I was
love
laughing
it.
because you're like, oh, 30s, and then this morning you're like, I feel so tired.
Oh, the old age was
It
selecting
happens
me, guys. You know?
overnight. It happens overnight. But yeah, you also turned 30 last week and we didn't wish you 2 weeks ago, yeah. And we didn't wish you on the show. Next week we'll have cake. For no reason, just to celebrate old birthdays.
Yeah, see, when I'm not here, there's cake.
I would like to say for me and Jess, I mean, I think it's well deserving for our birthday month. Our birthday month is in January, Aisha.
Oh, sorry, guys.
Fellow Jan babies.
And the early Jan, babies, making it
Shem,
worse.
but we had cake when we opened our very first day.
Okay.
And balloons. So take that as a celebration. Thank you so much for joining us for another Gabfest. Hope to see you guys next week. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for all the comments. Subscribe, like, and see you again next week. Same time, same place. Bye.
Bye.